Let's start off by introducing ourselves. How about we start there? Initially, I thought this would be a really great idea to have you do this Q&A session with me. We started working together. You're a former coaching client, and you're kind of still kind of like a mentor, a mentee, and I don't know, you're cool. So, Zuriel, please introduce yourself to the channel.
I'm Zoriel. I'm a junior marketer who's living in Norway, learning the ways and the ropes of marketing, and discovered Cynthia on the road. So I joined her coaching program, loved it, and now I'm working a bit with her on her projects and having fun with this Q&A call, for example.
I would hope now watching this channel, you would know who I am, but I'm Cynthia. I'm a growth marketer. I'm also a paid media consultant, specifically specializing in Google ads and Facebook ads, do a little TikTok, do a little Pinterest, but mainly specializing in Meta and Google. Yeah. And I'm excited to share the inside out information, if that's a phrase, on everything related to what I do, how I got to where I'm at. If you find that interesting, if you're interested in that, obviously. So, Zuriel, please take it away with this Q&A. I pretty much tasked Zuriel. I was like, hey, do you want to just have a session where you're just asking me questions and make it for yourself, whatever you find useful, and then I'll make it into
Yep.
content. So boom, here's where we're at. So take it away.
Let's roll. So when going through your podcast, there's this one question that always made me question or made me think of who you actually were, since you were always talking to other people who they were. So now it's your turn. So let's start with how you got your feet into the growth marketing world and how you went from a freelance photographer to a growth marketer.
Yeah, so that's a fun journey. I was a a lot of things. I was a freelance photographer, graphic designer, and in the journey of trying to get my shit together, I was actually doing contracting work because I was living in Section 8 housing. So I couldn't, over here, the way it works, like if you report your income, they increase your rent. So I didn't want to do that to my dad. And so I was just thinking of ways to make money outside of like tax-free money, which is, don't tell anyone. And obviously that wasn't sustainable. So I was trying to make it sustainable. So how I went about doing that is looking into ways of advertising myself and like going about building a website and like how to get, understanding the customer or the ideal clients, and then just like optimizing my messaging around that, and then potentially running ads. Even what did that look like? How much did that cost? Stumbling on that world, I eventually started learning about Google ads and Facebook ads. Mainly, I started off with Google ads, and I saw that this was a very lucrative field. I saw that there was like no real strong barrier to entry. You start low, but the compound interest is very high. And after the past, been like 7, 8 years now, I'm going from making, not very consistent income, probably on a good month, maybe like $1,000 to, and then at some point, like $9 an hour, or it was $11 an hour, to I'm at this point where this month was a pretty nice month and I'm working not so aggressively at 34K per month. That is not all profit. I always have to preface by saying that. But still, that's pretty nice. Last year, I was doing my tax returns. I also had a remote 9 to 5, but in total, it was like around I think it was like 415K, between 385 and 415K. And it was not bad. It was not bad at all. Again, not all of that is profit, and I've kind of mismanaged some of that, but still, it's a really cool career that compounded. And I saw the vision of that very early on. I started working with an agency, kind of like laying down the foundations, getting a really rough education. And I did that for like a year and a half. I did a little bit of everything in that growing agency. I loved working with about everything. Everything that I wanted to do, I could work on it. It's just that I wasn't getting paid a lot. And naturally, because I wasn't worth a lot for the company, I wasn't generating a large return. So it's only natural. A lot of it was learning. I got to work with really great marketers, Patrick Gilbert being one of them, Isaac Rudansky. And these men are still my mentors to this day and really prominent figures in the marketing industry, in digital marketing as a whole. And yeah, I just absorbed everything I can. Within the agency, I also went from Google ads to becoming like the Facebook ads creative designer girl. I kind of ran amok there, and I broke off. I wanted to do my own thing. I was creating landing pages for clients. I got my first clients on LinkedIn, specifically within my own field or like my own network. And I was doing like a lot of door-to-door stuff too. Like, hey, do you need Facebook ads? Hey, do you need a landing page? Just like figuring it the fuck out as I went. It wasn't too consistent. I did, you know, I did some damage, and I started working from Damon John from ABC Shark Tank from there. It was more of a general role and not so much of a specialist role, which was really great because it balanced my skill set nicely. And I helped Damon scale all of his digital products and just understand that world of funnels and all those stupid fucking buzzwords and connecting with really cool people, amazing people. And then just seeing how, I don't want to say how easy it was to create a business, because building and scaling a business is a very difficult, tedious process in which you dedicate your full life to. But just seeing how, this is going to sound mean, but how dumb they were. Like, I'm like, I could do that too. And they're making a fuck ton of money. Like, why can't I do that? And
Maybe
so,
simple is the better word. Simple.
no, I feel
Do you
like
think?
dumb is a better word for that. Because
Interesting.
I think I was just analyzing a lot of people that they didn't know what they were doing, and they were just kind
Mm,
of like, I don't know, but they had the guts to spend money to figure it out. So
mm,
stupid in a way that, I mean, like, I'm stupid in a lot of ways, you know, but I'm stupid in the pursuit of trying to become intelligent. You know what I mean? I'm not fundamentally dumb. I'm not fundamentally ignorant. It's more of like venturing off into this world, understanding that I'm ignorant in this one area. Like, stupid is a mean thing to say, but I just think it's funny. Ignorant in this one area, but also like having the courage to just figure it out as I go. And like, hey, if I waste money, hey, if I fail in my face and like file for bankruptcy, that's not the worst thing in the world. And I just really admire that gumption. And I saw the people at the top that were earning a lot of money. And by a lot, I'm talking like their net worth being over 500 million. I felt like I was smarter than them in a lot of areas, and I just wasn't applying that knowledge. The difference between
mm,
me and them was that they applied what little knowledge that they had, and that little knowledge compounded over time. So I just noticed that I was playing too small, is what I'm trying to say. And just that exposure alone for me was worth all the sacrifice, was worth all the late nights. It was worth everything just to see that. It was kind of like a glass shattering kind of moment for me.
mm,
And so I was like, I want to take this skill set and I want to actually propel it to the next level. And I want to do really dope shit in the process. And I want to work with really cool people. And I got to work with really cool people with Damon, but obviously I had a salary ceiling. Just nothing wrong with that. It's just, it wasn't really for me at that time. I broke off again after I think a year or two. I started doing my own independent work, and I've been working independently ever since. I did have a salary job last year, but then I kind of upsold them and made them into a client. And you know about this. And I loved
yep.
working with them too. I loved working with the team. I can't really see myself ever working at a job, but some like a situation like that was an incredible experience. It was fun. I loved working with the people. They were just such great people. So at the end of the day, I actually no, I can see myself working with on a in a job, depending on the salary, if the culture is right and the people are right. Because I'm not
Mm,
really motivated by money anymore as much as I was before, but I was really just trying to get myself out of a pickle. Now that I'm out of the pickle, now I'm like, hey, I just kind of want to have fun and make money at the same time and do
mm,
really cool shit and learn as much as I possibly can. So back to that. I have been just growing, failing, failing, growing, growing, failing, 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 growing, growing, failing, failing, growing. And it just so happens that the income kind of matched that based on the type of problems that I've solved. So my one signature service, which I'll never, it will always be my main service and it will always be my bread and butter and it'll always be like my favorite thing because of that, is paid media services. So specifically Facebook ads, Google ads. Now, the way that I attained mastery of that and I got really good at it, where I'm able to charge what I charge, is developing these like adjacent skill sets. You can see them like I kind of call them like little pillar skill sets. It's under
mm,
having a deep understanding of consumer psychology, being decent at stats, like that's a really big thing that no one really talks about. Understanding machine learning to some extent. And again, I'm not like some kind of wizard and expert, but I know enough where I can defend myself and understand how to manipulate it as a marketer, at least. I'm not a data
mm,
scientist either. Understanding like the principles of user experience design, CRO, that one was really important. I had mentioned before that I had like kind of like a design background. I probably spent like 6 months just studying design, like every book out there. I was really obsessed with future, however you want to pronounce it.
yeah.
The fu-
Without an E. Yeah.
is it the future?
Future.
I think it's
Blue. The sign with a blue background, and the CEO has a cap on as well, and
yeah,
maybe glasses.
Chris Do. He's
Chris.
like bald, yeah, but he's
Yep.
amazing. So
Yes.
yeah, I think he's one of the best marketers out there. Him and Seth Godin, and like I appreciate their work and their thoughts, and everything that they mentioned, like I consumed it. Like books that they recommended, I consumed it. So I spent a lot of years just buckling down, just learning and reading, learning and reading, learning and reading. And then I found myself kind of neglecting the doing part. I think a lot of people can do
Mm.
that, where you spend so much time taking courses. There are so many people. I got into like 3 different sales calls, and I just did this sales calls. They're not really sales calls because I'm like kind of telling you the truth. And I told them, stop taking courses. You don't need to hire me. Just sit down and do the work. Like you're so far, like hire me to work as a coach if you have a specific problem, and say like in 3 months, based on the skills that you've acquired already, you want to actually monetize off of that. You actually want to hit 6 figures by the end of the year. Right now, you're like way too early. You don't even know what you want. Like spend that time exploring and reading
Mm.
and failing about whatever you got to do. So that's yeah, I spent a lot of time like putting in that foundation work, that $10,000, 10,000 hours from Malcolm Gladwell from Outliers. Um and yeah, that's kind of how I had this like multifaceted growth marketing mindset. So even though I
Mm.
deliver media buying as a service, I'm always optimizing outside of that, because I think what a lot of clients needed help with more so than anything, when you really listen to them, it's like the systems around it. A lot of clients aren't even ready for advertising. A lot of brands aren't even ready for advertising. A lot of brands need to get all the right pieces into place before you even run ads, right? Or say they've run ads already and it was a failure. Why is that the case? Maybe it's because it's their landing page. So let's fix the landing page and let's, optimize the ad account and maybe not spend so much, and just kind of like just work to decrease our CPA, get that foundational stuff underway, fix some of our email flows. And then,
Mm.
month 3, we start scaling more aggressively and spend more. And we have a certain spend target to hit, while also making sure we have a revenue target to hit as well. Um, so that's like the dumbed down version of how like I broke into this little by little. And I've seen people go at it way faster, more aggressively. They
Mm.
can make, well past 6 figures in a year. I don't think like 6 figures is particularly wealthy too. And I'm live in New York, so you can make, 500K, a million. I've seen them break into that in like 2 years. And that means they just went at a different pace. They invested more, and they,
Mm.
like, for me, I'm all about like slow, sustainable growth. And the money alone isn't what is fulfilling me and sustaining me. It's having fun with it. So whenever I tell you, and you just mentioned now, like, hey, I'm just having fun with it, like you got some clients too. It's not like
Yeah.
you have paid opportunities. I'm paying you, like other people are paying you, right?
Yep.
Um, but the most important thing to make it sustainable is to have fun with it, like the passion piece behind it. Learn, break things, grow. Like this is a great career for people who are insatiably curious. And that's probably how I would describe myself at the core. It's also a great career for like misfits and people that just don't want to, like, if your mindset is like the rules are made for breaking in a respectful way,
Mm.
this is for you.
Perfect. Perfect. So I got a follow-up question for that. I think a year or two there was this podcast with Joe Rogan and Robert Downey Jr. where it talks about this invisible string he follows or feels the pull of to know which direction he's going. Do you feel like you always wanted to be a growth marketer, or do you feel like you took the jobs you had in your sight and accidentally became a growth marketer?
A lot of times I consider myself a media buyer, but I'm really not, right? Hmm. It's tough because I spoke to someone who's like wildly successful in our field, and she's amazing. I don't want to name her because I don't want to put her business out there either, because I don't know what she told me in confidence and not in confidence. But she stumbled into this entirely by accident. She was like, I just was really curious and I spent all my time in the library. And like, I just shared my learnings. And now she's like wildly successful. And a part of that for me is that. But I would say the
Mm-hmm.
difference between me and her is that I was a bit more intentional. And I don't think that's a bad thing either. I was a bit more intentional of how I wanted to move. I found myself getting lost in the sauce and like having to take a step back and to say, hey, like I don't want to grow an agency. I actually want to make this more of a consultancy, and I want to scale my personal brand and like monetize off of sponsorships. and potentially digital products that are like mini courses, not necessarily courses that are promising you the world. Like I don't want to be that. I don't want to be a guru in that way. I don't want to be a guru, but you know what I mean? Like genuine helping to solve a specific problem, not necessarily helping you become an alpha male or like bag all the bitches in the world. It's like, or like be a millionaire and like be able to take pictures of the Ferrari. Like that's not my goal, but like maybe helping you. Here's a $50 course that shows you how to set up a marketing workflow on Notion for your clients. You know what I mean? Like simple things. So that's how I want to scale. And it took some time to understand that. And I've been able to hit my revenue marks at the pace that I feel comfortable with. Whereas that person, I don't think she hit the revenue marks that I've hit. I don't think I know. And then when she hit certain revenue marks that she was really impressed by herself, it was just at 70 hours a week, 80 hours a week, which I've been there too. But it was just like unsustainable. And then, like she has a family. So it was really tough. So I think a really nice balance is important on following the curiosity, following your passion is really important. And sometimes maybe this is not even your passion. Following that curiosity while also being intentional, like checking in with yourself, I would say. So yeah, I think it's a little bit is like not to get woo-woo, like God given and all that fun stuff. But I think you need like a really strong balance of like creativity and following like your gut while also having that like more masculine, let's make a list and set a plan. Like you need both for a reason. I think oftentimes we lean on one over the other and both can lead to dissatisfaction in some way, shape, or form. So that's my perspective.
Both, yeah. That's a cool perspective. So when they go off on their own direction by itself, it can lead to a bad situation, but together they'll lead to great opportunities basically.
Yeah, I mean, like in a more practical sense, like if you're just going straight by your passion, I highly doubt that you're understanding what the market needs. Like for me, one thing that I'm starting, and I don't know if we'll get to this question, but like you had asked me this before, like where do I see the industry moving and what would be a new offer? Before, maybe a year ago, it was TikTok, right? Tactically TikTok. Now I think it's much bigger than TikTok. It's more, how do I service and offer creative strategy as a deliverable? And what does that look like? Because it's a massive buzzword. So I see that the market is in demand for it. So what am I doing on my end while servicing my current clients and maintaining my current workload? I am testing out a new offer and like a whole new process on how to develop a creative strategy through customer surveys, customer interviews, or market research, kind of analyzing reviews and also ad comments and all that stuff, and like building it into a system and like organizing it into different psychological needs, 9 main ones. I'm not going to go into detail here, but from there we develop messaging, and then from there we start the creative production of it. And I say that really nicely and kind of like easily, but there's like so many, the hardest part right now is getting the right editors into place and developing briefs for those editors based on the data that we found. There's like a huge process to it and a huge creative workflow that doesn't just happen in a week, not even a month, depending, because like organizing those interviews sometimes with people's schedules take a long time. So yeah, that's like a service that I think that maybe I shouldn't share that because everyone's gonna be on it, but whatever. I think it's more the merrier. If you can figure it out, awesome. So then I can copy you now.
That's true.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think that's where the industry is moving, like the creative strategy piece per platform, not just paid media, but like organically as well. We all know that the best ads or the best accounts that perform well with advertising have the strongest organic presence. So we really need to, I think as media buyers, we need to like supplement both. Like if we want that program to work well, if we want that initiative to work well, specifically paid media, we have to make sure that the platform organically is also performing well. There was a time where we can run ads and we didn't really need to have we didn't need all of that. I remember those times. Now it's crucial. And we can't just only rely on like UGC videos of like, here are 5 reasons why you should buy this iPhone case. Like that's not it, because that's becoming saturated. So I think at the core, if we go back to the foundations of why people buy and center marketing messages around that, not just with the creative itself, but also the copy, all of that, it's very impactful. It's just like the creative piece of like, how do we put a video that, like creatively, and then understanding trends, so many other things, variables involved to that to make it more difficult. But that's the next biggest thing within this industry. So I forget your original question, but that's where we're moving. And
We're moving there. Yeah.
yeah, I think the original question is like, how do you continue to grow and scale and stuff like that, or just how do you move about, something more along those lines. But it's just listening to the market. Or it was
Yeah.
related to like how like the Robert Downey Jr. thing, like are you just like, do you follow passion or do you follow like you got to listen to the market too. And so
Mm,
me understanding that creative strategy is a thing. And it's obviously, if I don't have it, my account won't do well. My client won't make a lot of money. If my client's not making a lot of money, I'm not making a lot of money. So here's how I supplement that growth. And here's how I make it work. And that all comes from me from using like more of the logic piece of the more
mm,
masculine side of myself, even though I'm a
yep.
woman. It's listening to what the market is in demand for. So you like, have you ever heard the concept of Ikigai?
Yeah. I've actually heard the real. Have you ever heard the concept of Ikigai a lot? Where it talks about finding the balance between several different circles. I don't quite remember what it all correlated to. Do you want to dive into that?
Yeah, I don't totally, I remember, I know it's like something that you're passionate about, like what you're really good at, what the market is in demand for. And then there's another piece that you want to connect everything to. But I think at least if you get those two main circles, I don't think people connect the two or do a good job. They either follow their passion. Let me look it up right now. They either follow their passion or they do something that is just going to give them an immediate return and it's not
Mm,
sustainable over time. Okay, so I have it up here. So it's understanding what you love, understanding what you're good at, and then what you can get paid for. There's actually four. So what the world needs, what you love, what you're good at, and what you can be paid for. And there's a
mm,
difference between your passion, your mission, your vocation, and your profession. However, if you find that interlock of all of that in between, that's your ikigai. And I think that it takes time to develop that and it takes time to find that, but you can only do that if you're like chipping away at it, like aggressively, like action. Like that word
mm.
manifest rubs me the wrong way, and it rubs a lot of people the wrong way because it just like you close your eyes and build up enough gas to fart a certain way and like you can manifest a Ferrari, right? And it's like
Yep.
that's not how it works. But again, to manifest what the word truly means, like in the dictionary, is to bring something about into the world. There is
Mm,
action that needs to follow suit. Like you need to think about it and then take action accordingly. And then you're
yep.
able to bring that about to create it.
There's this fun graph or this fun meme running about where it's basically the more you fuck around, the more you find out. And I
That's it
think
right
I don't
there.
remember.
Fuck around and
Yeah,
find
I don't
out.
remember the which was on the y-axis and which one was on the x-axis. But basically, when you're fucking around more, you find out more, and if you're fucking around less, you won't find out anything. And that's basically a funny way to see or look at the manifesting thing.
Yeah. And that's what I always like. I tell you and anyone, you're like 21, right?
23.
22. What? How
Yep.
old are you?
Just turned 23 like a month ago,
Oh,
so
I
sorry.
thought you said 28. I was like, no, you're not.
Nope.
No, okay. So you're 23. You just turned 23. I know you were between 21 and 23. I
Mm,
think that's the best thing like a young man or a young woman can do. Obviously, I think it's just exploring yourself and understanding what you want. I think, I can speak from the perspective of a woman and I can understand that from a man, society's telling you to build, make money, do it now. For a woman, it's like make babies, get married, but also make money. So you're like, whoa, what do I want? You can't, I don't know if you can have both. What do I want? Right. I don't think you can,
mm,
but it's tough. And then for a man, it's like this overwhelming pressure of like, you just graduated college in this really shitty economy. So now you have to make six figures tomorrow. It's like, what?
yep.
I don't even know what I like. And so I told this to my cousin too. I'm like, now is your time to be broke and like to figure it out. I I don't
Perfect
know if
time.
I didn't really have a chance to do that. And I always say like if you do take advantage of that. At 26 I moved back into my grandparents' house. I think at 26, yeah, or 25, 26, I moved back into my grandparents' house just to rack up and figure out my life so that because I never did that before. So I'm like, let me just figure things out and like keep my cost of living super low, support my grandparents, spend some time with them as I can. And yeah, that was like the best thing I could ever do. It was like the rubber band effect. And so I spent those 3 years just reading, learning, reading, learning. And I was doing that before, but I felt like
Mm,
I was I wasn't doing it super intentionally because I was so focused on paying bills and just like surviving. But then when I took that step back, actually, I was in between jobs and I was just like, hey, what if I just live off of my savings or the lack thereof right now and kind of figure it out, but like really invest in myself and take that risk? Like that was a risk for me. I don't always recommend it for everyone, but for me, it was absolutely necessary. And again, I had the privilege of moving back in with my grandparents, even though it didn't feel like a privilege at the time, but
Mm,
better than being homeless, right? So,
yeah. It's a
yeah.
great privilege to be able to, yeah, invest in just learning as well.
Yeah, I was talking to my best friend about this, like how if I could go back to into school, like what would I do? I would either go to culinary school or I would like go straight, just have a career straight in academia, even though I don't like fuck with the, not to get political, like I'm just not really into the whole wokeness of academia right now, but I would
Yep.
pursue a career in academia and specifically just philosophy. Like, because if you think about all the great thinkers, they didn't have a job. They were just chilling because they were rich. Like they came from
Mm,
affluent, rich families, right? So, or the church, like one of my favorite philosophers, Thomas Aquinas, was a Catholic philosopher. I think he was just like commissioned by the church. So like the church like gave him all of his basic needs. And he was just like, all right, I'm gonna read the Bible and like philosophize and pray. Like I would be on that
I
shit
think.
heavy. I would be
Mm,
heavy on that. But unfortunately we have bills and I'm kind of grateful for them because it kind of like pushed me to work a little bit harder. And so that's where we're at.
that's where we're at. All right. I think you basically answered a lot of my questions by yourself without me questioning them. So we can run off with a typical Tim Ferriss question. If there was a billboard anywhere, whatever size, how big it was or how small it was, what would you want it to be on the billboard? What
There was
would you want to write on the billboard?
if there was a billboard like massively for everyone to see, right?
Yep.
That's a great question. I would want
Fuck around to find out.
fuck around and find out. That's a good one. I think like it's either like one side will be fuck around and find out, and the other one is stay curious. I think
Mm,
leading with curiosity is the pursuit of truth. It's the pursuit of like in integrity and truth, right? And a lot of times in this world that we live in, we're not pursuing truth for the sake of truth. We're pursuing truth with an agenda. I think it's the same thing with data. And this is why data is so, there's so many ways to look at it because we're painting it in with our own bullshit. We're like, I really need to keep this client, so I want to say this, the ROAS here looks like in the span of a week it's like a 7x ROAS. Meanwhile, you take a look back and you open up the date range and it's like 0.68, like you're just like, oh,
yep.
are we really heading in the right direction? But I think the pursuit of truth and staying curious is probably, that would be on the other side of the billboard. Is fuck around and find out and stay curious.
Stay curious. All right.
This is
I
dope.
think this is dope.
Yeah, let's say bye in the best way ever. Peace.
Peace out.
Peace out,
Skillsets.
everyone. See ya.